All right, so let me go through and we'll have a look at um, what we just shot outside. Okay, so first thing I want to show you is we have Jacob here, who was so kind to be our model. And what I want to show you here is this is the first image that we shot with him in the shade, okay? But he's actually very close to the edge of the shade in this image right here. So the light is coming from above and then all the way down, and you can see that by the top of his hat. We have some ratio happening here, but he's very close to the light, so we have almost even on both sides, maybe a stop or so difference, okay? Then we move over to the middle one where Jacob has taken a step to my right. So now he's in between where the shade begins and the wall here at West Valley campus. So we've gotten a little bit deeper shadow here. We still have a fair amount of light on his eyes, but we've gotten a little bit darker shadow here. But look at the light, how it's cut off the top of his hat. And then we had him take a step over again, and now he's right against the cement brown tile. That's a diffuse surface, so it really sucks up the light. All right, it's not reflecting much light at all. So now you can see that it's even a little bit darker on the side. But in all three of these cases, look at the background, they're about the same. So again, taking somebody out of the sun, putting him in the shade, depends on where they are in relation to that light source. And think about the light source being that whole sky area that's out there, okay? All right, so here's the results of that first series of images that we took with Jacob. Now the second series that we did, all right, was basically, again, Jacob in the sun. Move this out of the way here. Maybe I'll put it up there. So Jacob out of the sun in the shade. But now instead of having him move closer to the wall, what I did is I photographed him basically in a 360. Okay? So the first image was basically him looking at that brown wall where I'm standing, and the background is the bright sun. So the camera's having to make a call here based on how bright the background is and how dark his face is, and it's doing some averaging thing. This is a bit overexposed, and this is underexposed. He's still in the shade, but the background has influenced the camera. Again, trying to make the camera see like we see and trying to tune our eyes to see like the camera sees is really, really important, okay? All right, so now I've had him, we've moved 45 degrees. So similar to the middle position in the last series, he's facing me, the wall's behind him, he's halfway between the edge of the shade and then that cement wall, okay? All right, and then here, this image, basically it's 90 degrees from this image, okay? So basically he's facing now the light outside, and I'm facing towards the wall. So as you would expect, the light's more even on his face. There's a difference between what's happening on this edge of the frame, the left and the right edge of the frame. There's more light coming from the right, less from the left. Okay, so we still have a difference here. It's not perfectly even. The further we got him out from underneath that shade, the more even it would become. Okay, and then lastly, he's now looking opposite the one above it. I'm standing in front of this bulletin board, and we're looking back into the hallway here, and we have a much different quality of light hitting his face here. So again, all four of these, exact same position. All we've done is basically did a 360, and there's infinite possibilities in between. But this gives you an idea that even in the shade, we still can have a pretty huge impact on what that light on the face looks like. Okay. All right. So here's another interesting example. I shot this and that. So the one on the left here is my camera shooting a picture of Richard here, and Richard has the camera just averaged the exposure. Okay, so it's not 1 over the ISO at f16 like I've been telling you. The one on the right is, right? So look at the highlight here, how it's blown out. This is the color of Richard's skin, but if we expose properly for the skin, look at the shadows. It's gone. The face is gone. So what the camera does is it automatically sort of overexpose the skin to compensate for the shadows. All right, just to show you what the camera does by itself. So we're going to use this image as our starting point, or maybe we'll use this image as our starting point. It might be a little bit more accurate. So we'll start with this image, and then compare it to this image. Now all I've done here is, this is the image, right, with no modification or shaping of the sunlight, okay? And this image, I had James standing there holding that diffuse card up in the air to soften the sun. Look at the background, it's the same, but look at the quality of light on his face. Look at the depth of the shadows. Look at the wrapping of the highlights compared to this one. Still, we're not getting much into his eye sockets, right? Because we're coming from the side. If I turned his head a little bit to my left, we'd then start filling his face with that light that's coming in from the side. I chose this angle because I wanted to really show the difference between both sides of his face. Okay, so this is diffusing the sun, putting that translucent reflector over the sun, so the light coming through it then is softer. This is what it looks like when you sit under an umbrella, a white umbrella, right? Or you sit, under an awning of some sort where light's coming through that's got skylights. Same quality of light. It's softer. All right. Okay, so now let's take this one and here. So now we still have our bright sun here, right? And then we've just bring in a fill card from the side. You can see it right here. And this fill card is just pushing light into this edge. But as you can see right in here, we're still not filling that shadow, nor are we filling this shadow like we're filling that and that. It's because the light's coming directly from the right-hand side. If we could move that light around to the front, we could. But as I mentioned when we were outside, if you start moving it too far around, you start bringing it into the view of the camera. So you have to be a little bit careful with that, okay? So a lot of times, the fill from the side isn't always the option, because then you get this dark line kind of down the center, which isn't always a great deal. Okay, so let's go back here, and now we're going to light Richard on fire here with that silver reflector. Okay, so now I had him close his eyes because that thing is really bright, not comfortable for your subjects. But then again, here we are with our original, okay, just direct sun, and then here we are with that silver card pushing that light in. Now the nice thing about that silver card is it's very directional, it's very controllable. Okay, so that's the good news about it. The bad news is it's specular. See the quality we have here, and see the quality that we have here. If we just take this image and put this up as well, here we have our original, here we have that specular quality, and here we have that softer quality. Look at the difference of how his skin is being treated here versus here. Okay, and then lastly here, there's our gold reflector. So look at how yellow his face is on that one. Now what we've done here, right, is same with the silver card, we've taken a gold reflector and then pushed that light back in on his face, okay, to get that lighter side. We're still missing right here. We could work that around a little bit more, but the color is kind of weird. It doesn't look real. It looks a bit artificial. So you're going to have to make that call as to what color you're going to use to fill that. Okay, so the last thing we did over there, we shot another picture of Richard just out there with the sun, okay, and then we came in and we had, oops, let me not use that one. Use this one and that one. So here's just with the sun. Now this image of Richard over here on the right-hand side, it's got the diffuser that's James holding up to soften the sun. It's got that little silver reflector giving that little highlight along the ear. See that highlight on his face, that highlight on his neck, and the one that goes along the shoulder? Okay? All these beautiful highlights are coming from the silver card back here, right? And then we had the fill card coming in just to generally fill his face. We got the catch lights in his eyes. It's that really big reflector that Rennis was carrying, okay? So here's the original, and then here's the image with all three of those diffusion flats, as if we had a 3-light studio, okay? Then we go in here and we, let me just do these two, and then, so here, this image now, we remove the silver card in the back, so now we don't have this little glow, little edge light that's separating from the background. Now it's a little flat over there. And then we came in and removed the fill card. So now we remove the fill card, okay? And then we came in and removed the diffuser altogether. So here's beginning, okay? Here's all 3 light sources, right? The flat, softening the light, the fill, the flat's coming from camera left, the fill is coming from camera right, and that little silver card, is kicking in from the back. You can see that right here, okay? Then we remove the silver card, remove the fill, and then we're back to where we started in the beginning, okay? So this is how we shape light. This is how we can take these different panels, and like I said, outside, it could be anything. It could be shower curtain material, it could be vellum, it could be plastic, it could be a cloth sheet. Be careful of the color because it's going to influence it. But basically, we can then begin to shape the light outside as if it was our studio. Right? It's the same thing I showed you on the slides for the interior lights, how we fill, right? We do the same thing and out in the bright sun. And also, I got a question during class. I'm recording this post, but I got a question during class. What happens if it's all overcast? You can do negative fill. One of the options with those reflectors is a black side. So if we had a very soft light source like this, or like the one here on Jacob, say it's that one, we could take and put a black card next to him and take some of that light away and give the light more shape. So we always think of fill as additive, but we can also do negative fill to take it away, like I showed you on that electronic part 2 weeks ago, or maybe it's on this part of the lecture. I'm not sure what part you've listened to so far. So anyways, there's a semi-short description of the 3 videos that we did out in the field, except the one I didn't do any video of was the one stop of light, or the metering thing, but you could see that as the light changed on my face. So, all right, thank you.